Okay, welcome back, you beautiful people. Now today's a really exciting day because it's reveal day of the Nebula edition PRS SE Silver Sky. It's finished, it's done, it's back together, it's ready to play, it's ready to rock, and I'm going to show you it in all its glory. Let's get into it. Okay, so welcome to part 2 of my Nebula edition PRS SE Silver Sky conversion. Okay, so today I'm going to show you it in all its glory at the end of this video, exactly what it looks like, how amazing it looks. It is stunning, absolutely. I'm so happy with it. You can probably tell by the smile on my face. But yeah, it's a proper looker. Okay, so it's cost me about £150 to do this. Okay, it took a bit of work. It's a lot harder than it looks, I tell you. All right, you got to give credit to these manufacturers, these factories, and these private spray, you know, these local sprayers. It's not an easy job, I've got to say. All right, but yeah, got there in the end. So let's continue the process from where we left off in the last video. So I just finished the primer at that point. We're now going to go into the spraying of the colour, spraying of the lacquer, and then I'm going to show you how I then flattened it off at the end, got it all nice and smooth, put it back together, and then I'm going to reveal all to you guys, okay? The first Nebula Edition SE Silver Sky you've probably ever seen, okay? So let's get into it and I'll see you at the end. The primer is ready to take some paint. Now I'm using a chameleon blue-purple flip paint to get that Nebula look. I'll leave a link in the description so anybody who wants to get the same paint, you know, it might look amazing, it might not look amazing, but we're only going to see at the end, aren't we, once we've got it all glossed up. But hopefully it's going to look very Nebula-esque, and we'll end up with a very lovely Nebula SE Silver Sky. Now the paint, I've just left it, because it's not the warmest day in the world, so what I've done, I've left it in a hot bowl of water to keep the paint nice and free-flowing. So keeping it nice and warm. Don't want it cold. You never want a cold can, because it sprays much smoother and more evenly when it's warm. So loads of shaking, get it nice and mixed. I've been shaking it off camera prior to this, but yeah, keep shaking it. And let's get some top coat on here. So like I say, I'm using a bicycle work stand. You get them from supermarkets like Aldi, Lidl, for about 30 quid. So I actually use it for a bike, because even though I don't look like a biker, I am actually a biker as well, cyclist. So yeah, let's have a little go, see how we get on. So I'm going to start off nice and light with these coats. I'm going to leave it 10 minutes between coats. I'm going to use most of the can in one go, and then move on to this. I've got a second can, and then I'll probably leave it overnight, and then maybe use the next 2 cans tomorrow, depending on how much coverage I can get. We'll see how we get on. Right, I think it's ready now, so quick test. Okay, right, here we go then. So it's nice sweeping motion. Don't release until past the guitar. Nice little overlap. Just gonna do one more sweep from this angle and get in those horns. Okay, I think that'll do for the first coat. We'll leave that for a little while, just let it go off, give it 10 minutes, and stick next coat on, back in the mo. Okay, so it's been a good 10 minutes, turned it back over, gonna do a little bit more on the front, hopefully it won't spit so much. If it does, it's gonna be another couple of cans, I reckon, just sand it smooth, get the excess off, and get some more layers on there with a couple of brand new cans. So let's see how this goes, get some more layers on there, get a bit more thickness to the coat of the colour, and see how we get on. And hopefully this will play ball a little bit better this time. Okay, I think I'm going to leave it there. We'll leave that there, get a couple of new spray cans. So I'm going to leave it 24 hours, let it settle. And then we'll come back, sand those excess spots off. And I think we'll then crack on with a bit more colour before we start with the clear coats. So I'll be back tomorrow after letting this cure, so we can get it sanded a little bit down, nice and smooth and flat. Just going to take a little bit longer to do than I expected, but it's the way it goes, and I'd rather take longer and get it right than rush it and get it wrong, because I want it to be perfect. So, see you tomorrow. Okay, so we're now back at the next day, ready to have a look at what the damage is from those spots that was spitting yesterday. And we can see there's a few big ones And it looks like it's actually sort of almost the lacquery part of the paint, not the colour itself. It's weird how it just almost separated and went a bit funny. So what we're going to do is actually sand the flat first, and then we're going to work on the curves a little bit by hand, because I'll be using the pad on that. Now I'm using 600 grit this time, with a bit of water as well, keeping it nice and wet. I'm just going to do ultra light, small motions, and just see if I can just take the surface off of those, because I don't want to be doing too much on this. Literally no pressure whatsoever. That's also a reason I've got it vertical, because I didn't want to push too much down force on it. So it just helps me keep a bit of weight off it. Just smoothing it out. Those spots are actually gone already, to be honest. But you've got to be careful not to go through the actual paint itself and take any of the colour off with it. I'm just going to smooth it out. And like I say, on this bit here, I'm just going to take it off the block. Just do it by hand, because the block's so flat that as soon as you try and go around any curves and edges, you end up just taking the actual sort of the joins of the contours out too much. It's actually coming up pretty well, to be fair. I'm obviously going to clean it off to check it out, and then let it dry to get a proper judgment on it. But it's actually looking like it actually might be okay. But yeah, it's looking pretty good, that actually. I couldn't see any other spots really. Just give it a look for anything obvious. It does actually help with the next coat of paint, to be fair, as well, giving it a little bit more keying. Just a little bit more keying, and then it'll grip it that little bit better. Clean that off, and then I'll turn it around the other side and see how that's getting on. I do like a Nebula colour. That purple just shines and shines and shines. So imagine when we get the clear lacquer on, what it's going to be looking like then. Once I get to the end of the colour coat, I'll be putting up close-ups and get it in the light, and we'll get it all on film for you. Get it all looking gorgeous, so you have a good look at it. It's amazing actually, just by putting a bit of damp on there, how it suddenly brings out all the paint. So it looks all nice and shiny and glossy, like it's going to be when it's had the clear coat on as well. You can start to see the shine coming through a little bit. See that nebula effect starting to work its magic. There you go. So you start to see what we're going to end up with early on. A bit of blue, purple. Looking good. Okay, so I'm just going to dry that off with a bit more shop towel, and then it'll be time for some more colour coat. It's all coming together. Alright, so next stage, get some more colour on, check it all over, clean it up, get ready for the clear coat. Here we go. Okay, so I've been letting this paint dry for a little while now. It's ready for the first coat of lacquer. Now the first coat of lacquer, I'm going to be using HB Body 2K HS Clear Lacquer. Again, links will all be in the description as to what I've bought and where you can possibly buy them. I'm not affiliated with anybody, so nothing to do with brand loyalty or nothing. It's just so you know what I'm dealing with, and in case it works for you, so you've got ideas, helps you out. So first coat of lacquer, going to put this on but lightly. The first one just nice and light, nothing thick, nothing heavy, just to give it something to grab to with the second layer when I'm going to start putting it a bit thicker. Okay, so just nice and light, just give it something to grab and see how it comes out. Here we go. So you may have noticed there's on a slightly different pattern there. On the packaging it says use an S pattern horizontally and then do the same thing vertically. So that's exactly what I just did. And maybe it helps with the layering and less. I've read about striping before with lacquer. If you all do it in one direction, it can start striping. Okay, I think that'll do for now. Is that the lightest pinprick of all time of dust? It may well be. It may be the tiniest contaminant, right in the worst place possible on the instrument for visibility. Well, would you believe it? Okay, so I suppose that's what happens when you don't have your own dedicated paint booth. That is so disappointing. It's been going so well up to that point. So I'm going to need to sand that smooth when it's all nice and dry and hard now. And then repaint that section. Can you believe it? Unbelievable. Absolutely gutted. What can you do? It happens. Dust, dirt, and the worst thing is, one doesn't a bit of dust, it's a bit of sort of a grain of something that was just in the air. Okay, welcome back. So it's been a few weeks now since I did the previous part. We've had some really bad weather here in the UK, so it's been really cold and damp. So it's not ideal conditions for painting. So I'm back now. I sanded down that big issue with the speck that got in there and ruined the front. So I sanded that back down, put a bit more primer on, repainted the front, and now we're ready for lacquering. Now actually, yet again, I messed up. I forgot to press the record button when I did my first coat of lacquer. So I've already done one coat of lacquer. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do 3 coats per day for 3 days. And then after that, give it a bit of drying time, give it maybe sort of 48, 72 hours, get a bit of time to harden up, and then I'm gonna wet sand it back to a nice flat coat, just get the ripples out, the orange peel effect, and then we'll crack on and put some more lacquer on, maybe another 3 coats, give it a bit more time and flatten that out and see where we're at that point. And hopefully we'll be good to go then, ready for a bit of buffing and rubbing compound and polishing up and reinstalling it, or putting it all back together. So what I've done is, because I haven't got a paint booth, not posh, so I've actually got one of the old tents, one of these pop-up tents that we've got knocking around, I don't mind ruining. So what I've done is actually put this on top of the workstation that I was using to hold the guitar. And so in here, hopefully, it'll have less chance of getting any sort of specks of dirt or whatever come through and get in there, a bit more enclosed. So I'll just zip it up after I've finished. So like I said, I've done a coat already, but I'm just going to show you some more lacquer coats. But it's really starting to shine now. It's looking amazing, really smooth and gorgeous colour, both. Okay, so time for a bit more lacquer. So let's get coat number 2 on. I'm going to turn it round and get another coat on. And also, while I've got it out while I'm turning it around, I'm going to just do the edges as well. So it's really important to try and get into all the little nooks and crannies of this. So obviously be careful not to touch it on anything. We know how that ends, don't we? So I'm a lot more careful now. Okay. Let's get some paint on these edges. Do the same on the other side. And then get in here. So this is just give it a bit of a swoop as you do it. Then turn it around, do the same on the other side. It's very hard actually to get into these horns of the guitar. And then now, stick it back in. Back on the stand. Give it a good bit of pressure so it's nice and secure. Don't want that moving at all. Don't want that going anywhere. And then get this lacquered up on this side. So that's looking good. So I'm going to carefully get these zips done up without letting that touch there. So keep it all hopefully dust free. Just keep it inside there while it's settling. And I'll give it an hour between coats. And then be good to come back in an hour and get some more done. Get it looking even more gorgeous. But it's really starting to come to life now, this paint. It's looking really good. So hopefully no more problems, he says. But we'll see. I'm sure there'll be something else crop up in the meantime. Okay, back in a bit. Okay, welcome back. So we're finally at the point where we can get this gorgeous lacquer and this paint job to start being sanded back a bit. Get rid of this orange peel, get rid of a few blemishes, just take it back a little notch, and then we're going to put a couple of 3 more coats on just to finish it off, and then we'll be finishing the wet sanding for the permanent finish at that point. So what I'm going to do today is I've actually got some water in a bowl, and I've got some 600 grit loaded up onto here already, been soaking, so it's nice and wet, because wet sand keeps the moisture keeps the actual dust and grit away from the surface as it lifts it. So you've got to keep it nice and wet without trying to get too much water into any of the holes, because you don't want water in the wood. So it's a bit of a balancing act, this. Now obviously on the flat surfaces, what we want to be doing is using the block, keep it nice and flat. On the curved edges though, we can do that by hand because it's very easy to burn through because it's a very light coat on corners and edges apparently. So it doesn't sit quite so thick on the edges. So we've got to be really gentle and careful on the curves and the edges and the sides and these rims. Okay, so on the flat surface it's okay to use the block, but the edges by hand. So as you can see, it's coming up lovely at the moment. I'll give it a little bit of a turn so you can see what's going on with it. It's really starting to become that nebula finish we were looking for. And the back as well. It's actually stunning. It's even better in the flesh than it looks on camera, to be fair. So I'm going to start off with a bit of wet sand, and I'm actually going to start on the back just to get into it. And even even though it's relatively flat through that curve, I'm going to do that by hand as well. Okay, and especially this rim. You don't want to be doing that rim with a block of any sort. It'll soon burn through the lacquer and take some of the actual colour coat with it. So I'm going to do the flat surface first, all in one direction with the 600, and then when I get the 800 on, which I've got ready there, I'm going up to 800 once I've just buffed it off a little bit. I'll be going in a sort of diagonal direction across that grain of grit that I've done already. So just to get this out, let it drip off a bit. You want it wet, but not absolutely sopping wet, you know, so. Right, so that'll do nicely. Now, so like I say, we're going to go one direction, nice and light, no pressure whatsoever, just nice and light. Literally the weight of the block doing it, so no pressure from my hands whatsoever. And you'll see that it starts to turn into a bit of a paste as you're doing it. You've got to just keep checking on here, make sure it isn't getting too thick. Make sure this isn't getting too thick either, so if it does, just give it a little bit of a dab, rinse it off, you know, and get going again. And what we're looking for is to actually take the shiny spots away. It sounds crazy, you're actually trying to make it matte, effectively, because then it's all one perfect flat surface at that point. So you don't want any high spots, so we're looking to get rid of the shiny bits. Now obviously when it's wet, it's very hard to see what's shiny and what isn't. So what we're going to do is going to keep lifting it, drying it off every now and then, and with the shop towel, look, get some of that off there, look. Have another little look at it and see where we're at each time. So you've got to keep monitoring yourself basically while you're doing this. So you look along it, and I can still see some shiny spots, plenty of dull, but there's still some shiny spots as well. So give this another dip, starting to paste up a little bit. We don't want lacquer pulling the lacquer, so it just washes that off, keeps it nice and fresh water, and then get going again. So like I say, nice and gentle. It's amazing how quick this goes through. So you've got to be really careful with this. I'm just looking for a nice matte flush surface. It seems really counterintuitive to actually make this matte after everything we've done. But obviously as you fine grade it more and more and more on that final wet sanding, it'll sort itself out and start to look amazing. I'm just going to dry that off and have another look. So you've got to look along the light, get the light angle. Yeah, it's starting to come nice, nearly there. In certain places more patchy than others. So it's just looking for those high spots and just flattening that out nice. Okay, so I've got a little bit of along this sort of inch of the edge here and a little bit in the middle, so it still requires a bit more, but I'd rather go gentle and take it slow than push and do it quickly and not cocking it up like I've done already so many times with so many little things. But that's the way it goes, you know, it's always going to happen. We're first go ever doing this, so it'll be interesting to see how it all turns out, won't it? Right, so I'm going to work a little bit on this corner here, a little bit on this edge here, not on the edge, but the actual near the edge of the flat surface, and I just need to do up here as well, and then that'll pretty much be done for the 600. See where that's at. Alright, so I've got some lacquer sticking on there now, so I'm going to swap that out for a new piece. It's more important to get a new piece than it is to risk it. The last thing you want to do is be pulling that lacquer. So to be honest, I think it's getting close to being done now. So I've got a lot of the orange peel gone effectively now. It just leaves a nice flat surface to put a little bit more lacquer on, and then we can start looking at finishing the job off. So, like I say, I'm going to use a bit by hand now and get into the curves, do around the edges. Alright, so next up, the tricky bit. So this is where we've got all these different curves and angles and so on, and this is where it's going to be really easy to burn through. You've got to be really careful with this. So I'm going to start off a new bit again. Just keep using more sand, have plenty of sandpaper in place. You know, the last thing you want to do is just do some damage. So again, by hand, just scuffing it up. Just a little bit of light work in there. Yeah, that's better. That's literally seconds. This takes seconds, this bit. Just be careful. It's so tempting to go a little bit more, a little bit sort of used, when you've been used to doing the back. Yeah, there's a bit of orange peel there, so there's a little bit more in this part of the horn, but on the neck joint, there's a lot less. So just keep analysing where you're at all the time. Checking. That's key by the looks of it. Start working on this horn. Now, the horns are obviously going to be really delicate, can easily burn through as well, so be gentle with these. Okay, that's looking good. Looking nice. Nice and flat. No damage anywhere so far. So far is the key word, because you know what happens when you say stuff like silly things like that. Okay, so that's the edges done, I believe. Pretty much as far as I'm going to take them anyway. So I'm going to dry this off now, get rid of all this crappy bits of paper, tidy up a bit, and I'll be back in a sec to do the front. See you in a sec. Okay, so tidied up a bit, got all the paper ready. So I've got 600 there, 800 here, piece of 600 loaded on the block already. And this is mainly flat, obviously, the front. I've done the curves already, ran in the horns and everything. I've only got this patch here, which I'm going to do that by hand as well, because again, I don't want to burn through with the block, because it's not really flat anywhere on that section. So start off with the flat top, do all of that with the 600. Got a few spares there in case it starts caking up with the lacquer, and see how we get on. Here we go. So the back went quite well. Looks like it's getting there nicely. So it's just a case of getting this scuffed up now. I think that's pretty much ready for the 800, sorry. But got this little edge to do down here. Now, this is going to be a tricky one because it's quite a big area. Right, that's looking good. Do a little bit around these edges here, but literally again, just fingers, nice and gentle. Keep changing the contour of it so you're never rubbing one area more than the others. Keep getting that wet. Keep that grit lifted. And just nice and gentle. Not too much, just enough. Yep, it's coming. A bit more water. Around that corner, around the edge. Just keep rinse, repeat, just keep doing the same old thing. Over and over and over until you get Alright, so I think I'll leave it there for today. Or for now, I should say, sorry. So I'm just going to finish off with the 800, exactly what I've just been doing, like you saw me do with the back. Don't want to make this part of the video too long. And then it'll be ready for a bit more lacquer, and I'll show you some of that. And then that'll be ready for a final sand down and a good buff with a polishing compound, and then a wax up. So, see you for the lacquer. Woohoo! Finally getting there. So after this, gonna leave it for 2 weeks this time to let it all completely gas off and completely cure really, really hard. So it's a nice solid surface to then give it that final sand, wet sand, buffing and polish out. Okay, so there you have it. Finally finished the lacquering. We can now give it the 2 weeks to harden, nice and solid, and then we'll be back for the final wet sand, getting the rubbing compound in there, smoothing it out, nice and solid surface, nice smooth flat surface, and give it a bit of a polish up, and then we can start rebuilding this gorgeous guitar, and we'll have the Silver Sky SE Nebula. Okay, so that's the end of the spraying process. Hope you enjoyed that. Now the next step, I'm not going to show you the guitar yet, because I just want to talk about the final step. Now if I was showing you me doing this next step, then you'd see the guitar, all right? So it's sort of pointless. So I'm going to reveal that in just a few moments' time, so stay tuned. I'm nearly there, I promise, all right? So the next step, the final step before I put the guitar back together, all right? What I did was I used Megria's Ultimate Compound, okay? This is cracking stuff. What this does is it takes the top of the lacquer, just that little bit of layer off just allows that gloss to really shine through, that paint to come through, and let it just breathe and let it just look amazing. It just flattens it nice, gets any imperfections out of the top surface, and just takes any milkiness out of the lacquer surface as well. Okay, so once you put that on, you'll see that it just changes. It's amazing. It just glows. All right, so I just bought a few of these polishing pads, just microfiber polishing pads off Amazon. You know, use 2. If you've ever seen Karate Kid, wax on, wax off, same sort of concept. 1 for putting it on, 1 for putting it off. Okay, I actually bought 2 lots because there's 2 processes here. It's not just one process. We don't just use the ultimate compound. We started with the ultimate compound. Once I've done that a few times, probably about 3 times with that all over the guitar body, I then went on and moved on to the ultimate polish. Okay, just to give it that protection, just to give it those few layers extra on top of that lacquer, because I want it to try and last as long as possible. I put a lot of effort into this. The last thing I want it to do is then get chipped and marked or scuffed or whatever. So I want to give it a bit of protection. So this stuff, these, by the way, these are great for cars as well. This is actually what they're for primarily, but they're superb on any sort of paintwork. Use the ultimate compound and then use some ultimate polish. Gets rid of swirls, lovely as well. Okay, so yeah, ultimate compound, ultimate polish, then you're ready to go. So I know you're desperate. I'm desperate to show you. So I put the guitar back together, and this is what it looks like. Okay, ladies and gents, it gives me immense pleasure to give to you the PRS SE Silver Sky Nebula Edition. Look at those colours, look at the purples turning into the blues, and it changes with all the different angles. It's even got a bit of a sort of Dodge and blue look about it, you know, like the American core version. But then you've got the purples mixed in there as well, look in the shade. Oh, this thing is just, oh, makes you want to just pick it up and play. Forget doing a video, I want to play it. Look at that. All right, so that hopefully you can see how amazing that looks. It actually looks better in the flesh than it does on camera. There's a lot more purple on it in the flesh than there is actually on screen. It's weird. It's just to do with studio lights, I believe. But yeah, it's still in there. You can hopefully see that as well. But yeah, look at that shine. It's got a metallic sort of sheen to it as well, and it's got the blue and purple mix. And then I don't know if you noticed, but actually, I've actually sanded the back of the neck down as well, because just to get rid of that little bit of lacquer on there and just smooth it out that little bit more. I've gone really high with the grit, so it's really fine, 3,500 grit on the back of the neck. So it's ultra smooth, it just glides now, ultra smooth, it's just lovely to play. Just slide your hand along there, gorgeous. So yeah, that's the Nebula, all right? I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope it gives you inspiration. I hope it helps you decide whether to have a go or not. You know, 150 quid and you end up with one of these looking like this. What more do you want, hey? I took the risk, it's your turn. All right, if you have a go, let me know. If you don't have a go but you want one, let me know. And I'm gonna, I got to say, I've got a lot more respect and appreciation for guitar finishers now. I think it's a tough job, very, very tough job, highly skilled. It's not easy, I tell you. All right, so I'm gonna go and play this now. But please, before you go, click like, subscribe. You know, I put a lot of effort into this. You know, get this out to the others, get this out to the masses, let the others see this as well. There might be people who want to have a go at this as well. So yeah, share and share alike, and then hopefully get out to more people like me and you, all right? But I will see you in the next video. The next video is actually going to be a performance video later on this week, so I hope you enjoy that. And then also, following that, I've got a couple of product videos. One of them is my dream amp, my bucket list amp. I've actually got it, okay? So I'm going to show you that in one of my videos. And then another one is something by Fender, but I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, because it's actually really special, and I'm going to show you how to use it completely different to how all the other videos have been showing you how to use it in the last month. Okay, so watch out for that as well. So make sure you got the notifications bell ticked so you can get the old notifications when the videos come up. But yeah, that's the Nebula SE Silver Sky. I've got to show you one more time, look. One more time. Get a look at those purples, those blues. Alright, so if you enjoyed this video, give it a big thumbs up, like and subscribe, share it to everybody that you know, and let's get out there, get out to all the others that might be interested in doing this themselves. You know, why hide it from the world? Let them all have one as well. Okay, so there it is, and all that squeaking is actually this on my, look, I'll do it again. There you go, it's not me, I promise. Oi. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. See you soon.